cameras off. So I'd like to begin today by acknowledging the traditional owners on the lands on which we meet and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. So if you missed last week's session, we had Craig from Royal Life talking to us about the National Swimming and Water Safety Framework. And again, you can access the recording for that via the link in the chat on the Lifesaving Victoria website. Our upcoming sessions include one next week, which will be talking about how to teach swimming and water safety skills in inland areas. And after that, we'd really like to hear your feedback on what sessions and what topics you'd like to see moving forward. So we do have a survey that we're circulating, so we'd really love your feedback and your input to make sure that we're developing and delivering sessions that are relevant and interesting and practical for you. So if you could fill out that survey, we'd very much appreciate it. So I'm going to introduce our first presenter today, who is Melissa Laird. As I said, she's from Lifesaving Victoria, the Manager of Education Program Delivery, and she's going to talk to us about some exciting online opportunities for swimming and water safety. So Mel, I'll get you to share your screen, unmute your mic and share your video, and I will turn off my video for you.
Hello everyone. I'm just going to share my screen for you. All right, so as Michelle introduced, I am Melissa from Lifesaving Victoria, and I am the Manager of Education Program Delivery. So what I was hoping to do is firstly, obviously, thank you for having me be a part of this session. I'm actually really excited and a bit nervous because my first online delivery, but really excited to share with you our learnings from, our online programs and resources that we've developed over the years. Before we go into that, what I would like to do, as you can see on the first screen, I've tried to make it a bit personable. I like to deliver face-to-face so that I can try to engage with the audience, but unfortunately we can't do that at the moment. So just to share a bit of insight into me and my background, just to sort of make it a little bit more relaxing and relatable in an online world. So firstly, I've been with LSV for almost 8 years now. I'm really passionate about water safety and education, and I absolutely love what I do, which is why I'm still here. Prior to the 8 years working at LSV, I was actually a teacher. So I did teach in a primary school for 1 year and did grade 3 right up to year 6. And then in the last 2.5 years, I taught at a Catholic college where I taught PE and health and looked after the health and physical education department at that school too. While I was at uni, so I have a bit of a relationship with all, everyone I hope in the audience today. So I did, while I was at uni, work at a facility where I duty managed lifeguard, was on customer service, childcare, holiday programs. So I did all of that while you're at uni. And then when I'm not, when I finished uni and then started my career, what I love doing when I'm not working is my family and friends and keeping active. So you can see in the picture there, they're my nephews and niece. So I have a 5-year-old nephew, twin boy nephews, and my niece who is just almost 2 now. While I'm not doing that, I also volunteer at the Children's Hospital, so I try to give back in my spare time, and I'm the Vice President of my netball club, Melbourne University Lightning, and it's really interesting with all of that to see the different perspective in regards to COVID-19 that has sort of happened with my different roles in my life. So it's very interesting to me. And finally, I also love learning and learning new things. So I just completed my Master of Sport Management only a year ago, officially graduated 6 months ago, and always looking for new opportunities to continue to learn, grow and develop. So that's me in a bit of a nutshell. So I'll move on to the next slide. So today's session, what I'm hoping to sort of take you through is our online journey. So I didn't want this to be what we're doing now because of COVID-19. I wanted to just, paint a picture of where we've come from, because we didn't just go, oh, let's get into the online world with programs and resources now that we have to. We've been doing this for a little while now, and so I'll take you through that journey that we've been through. So I'll go through all of those different phases to get to where we are. And what I want to do as part of that is to not only give you the background, but the learnings, because there are lots. And so lots of things that we learnt along the way to hopefully make it easier for everybody else. And also talk about some of the opportunities that can now come from this. I will break it up with questions in between as well, so I'm not just going to leave them to the end. So there will be a part midway through the presentation to ask questions. So if you do have them, pop them in the Q&A chat, and then we can get to them hopefully midway and then at the end if you have any. I do have some videos to break it up, which is hopefully a good thing. And I'm working off 2 screens. So to do the videos, I'm not being rude if I look away from the camera. I'm just trying to make sure you firstly hear the video, and then don't hear a double talk of me after I stop it. So the plan is to talk for about 25-30 minutes, again with time for questions, and again relate this through to the audience that we have today, which is, the industry and schools. And so, wherever you are on your journey, I'm hoping that this will help whether you're at the beginning or looking for something new. But even if it's just a platform to see what we've got and further share with your community as well. So it's definitely not designed to take away some of the great things that I've seen being done. And I've been a part of these sessions the weeks prior and have seen that, which I absolutely love. I've been trying to teach or give some of those ideas that have come from it to my nephew in the bath to keep him with his swimming lesson journey. And again, it's also not designed to take away from the practical programs that we deliver. So we still have our practical programs. And whilst we can't, confirm where that's at or what's going to happen, it's definitely not designed to take away from that, because I see such value in that face-to-face, whether that's teaching swimming lessons, that face-to-face teaching. Finally, I just wanted to say also with technology that, we do live in a very digital world now, and I know that it's actually just it's probably much harder for us rather than, the younger kids coming through in terms of learning and understanding. And I see this even more so because we have had my nephew at home teaching him while my sister and her partner work. And so it's interesting to see how quickly and how easily they pick it up, and to sort of look at how more engaging it can be for them. And it's not the only thing. We don't just want to put an iPad in front of them, or a phone, but there's certainly, I think, a place for it in society. So what I'll do is I'll begin by going through our Everyday Lifesaver app, and this was launched in 2015, and basically it's a game which uses gamification to make learning about water safety, responding to an emergency, and CPR more fun and engaging. So I'll share this video with you. I'll just make sure I turn on the sound. We've done a few tests, so hopefully this works. So the launch of the Everyday Lifesaver app, like I said earlier, was in 2015, and this was really the beginning of our online journey, was the development of this game. We learnt a lot in terms of app development, force navigation, and all of those things. And so I guess the reason why we actually did this in the first place was a response to that change in technology and the use of technology, but also because it was a way that we could further engage kids in their learning. We also did I guess, an analysis of everything that was out there in terms of programs relating to CPR and first aid for kids. And what we found was the cost of our face-to-face delivery. So we used to deliver a program called Resuscitator Mate, where we would go into the classroom, was just becoming too high. And we had competitors like St. John's deliver a similar program, which was free of charge. So when we started to actually look at all of that, we found a gap in our analysis. And the gap was something digital or online that we could provide in regards to CPR and first aid for students and kids to be able to learn that. We've got a website which will be put into the chat function for you, which has not only the preview of the video, but also the Everyday Lifesaver app and where it's available. There's the teacher support guide on there, along with the student assessment quiz, which is now built in, and also a certificate of completion. So there's all of those resources can be found on our website. And I guess that this is an opportunity for schools and facilities to use this free app or game that we have, and it can be something that's done before you go into a class or a swimming lessons. It can be done at home, it can be done in the classroom. And I guess it can also be done for those that aren't able to actually participate in swimming lessons as well. So it's a resource that's there that won't cost anything to use, and is accessible on an iPhone, an iPad, and a tablet in Google Play and in the App Store, as well as a PC too. So the next thing that came after the Everyday Lifesaver app was, I guess, this thing that we call virtual excursions. And so we conducted a pilot in 2017. What I'll do is I'll show the video first, and then I'll talk a bit about that with you. So just give me a moment while I get the sound on for you all again. So a bit of background to our virtual excursions. This was an all emergencies approach and all communities approach to safety education in Victorian schools using video conference technology, which we are very, very familiar with now. So when we originally piloted this program, we actually looked at, we started with Skype for Business, and the reason why we did that was because that's what schools were using as the platform that we could easily use and engage in the classroom from the comfort, I guess, of LSV headquarters. So what we found is we've done a whole, and I'll go through this a little bit later on, but there's a full report on our website because the pilot was evaluated to determine the effectiveness and everything of this particular program. But what we found was that face-to-face methods, like I said earlier with the Everyday Lifesaver app, can be inefficient and unsustainable, and especially in rural and regional areas. And again, it's not designed to take away from that face-to-face, yet further complement and perhaps access those schools and community groups that we wouldn't normally be able to for a number of different reasons. Safety in the curriculum is actually quite prominent, and it's a focus area or substrand in the HPE/geography part of the Victorian curriculum. And people who can help us after chatting with friends is actually a common theme or a unit of work, in that prep to year 2 age group, which is what we really started, the audience that we targeted with this. It was a way to authenticate their learning by having access to the different agencies. So we had a firefighter, a police officer, later on a lifesaver and a paramedic join the session, and it was more of a Q&A discussion, which I'll go through later on. But it meant that we were able to work with other agencies in a, all communities, all emergencies approach, and demonstrated, like they do on the grounds outside in the community, this that we work together concept. Program continues to be a barrier, or a significant barrier in terms of programs, especially those rural and remote locations, and funding and grants are often not recurrent, unreliable, and they're unsustainable. So this is sort of the reasons why we started to look into this. And then if we look at what the aim and objectives of this was it's actually to determine the feasibility and whether it was cost effective to deliver this type of program, the appropriateness of the resources and using video conferencing, and then the effectiveness of it as well. So the way that we did that was we didn't just go out and say, right, we're using Skype for Business, let's just see how we get into schools. We actually started scoping what this looked like, and we did that for about 2 years. So, when we first launched Everyday Lifesaver app, that's probably when we then started to move on to what we're doing next in that space. So I actually went to the Australian Children's Television Foundation and observed what they had already had on offer in regards to a virtual excursion. I looked at what the zoo did, ACME, which is the Australian Centre for, I can't remember what it stands for, but it's where schools can go in terms of media and digital technology. The NRL, which is, the sport played in most places, predominantly in Queensland and New South Wales. So I observed a lot of their programs to see how they did it before we even moved into making it available to schools. Oh, sorry, I'll go back. Like I said, we use Skype for Business as the platform to do it. The locations that we selected to do this pilot on was actually based on ranking of drowning. So we delivered the first pilot to a school in Frankston and then a regional school in Loddon, Campaspe as well. And so we had about 70 participants or 70 students across the 2 schools. And what we did in terms of the content, it was actually developed a lot with the agencies. So we worked with Ambulance Victoria and CFA to ensure that what we were delivering was right and correct. And then what we did was we created a pre and post resource that we could have the students do, so that we could see what they learnt or what they knew before and what they knew after, along with resources as well. So a lot went into this. We also did some qualitative and quantitative and observation as well, with focus groups and interview questionnaires. So this all formed part of the evaluation later on. And what we were able to find was whether, one, it was feasible, and yes, it was. So in terms of logistics, as we know now, it's really easy to set up a webinar and pretty straightforward. that there were some technical issues back then, so internet connections, sound, screen size, etc. But we've learnt a lot since then in regards to that. Were the resources appropriate? And what we found was, yes, they were. They were very engaging, and they were able to improve the students' knowledge. And interestingly, we also had more, I guess, connection with the regional school, because they live, or their school was 200 kilometres from a beach, so they don't have access to a lifesaver like they would a local CFA firefighter or a paramedic. Again, we learnt a bit about engagement with all of this. And so if I try to explain the session for you, so what we did was we decided to make it more of a Q&A. And the reason why we did that was because we could then get the questions of the students beforehand. Because at that time, if we delivered the session without having that and we asked the students the questions on the spot, I think we all know that we're either one, they may forget their question, especially a prep student, or they might stand up and then decide to tell us a story. So it sort of takes away from what we were trying to do in that engagement with all the different agencies and getting that message across about people in the community that can help them. We then also looked at things, how can we engage them more? Because we obviously didn't have that engagement with video and talking, but what we were able to do is get them up, and we can get everybody to draw 0, 0, 0 with their fingers without having them see that as well. And what we also found was that the awareness and knowledge, that it did increase in all of that. So I won't go into too much more detail on that, because the report, the full evaluation, is actually on our website. And then you can see here I spoke a bit about these recommendations or next steps. But one of the big things that came out of it was, how do we get more agencies involved in this, so that it's sort of a, all community approach to it, along with a website with the emergency management section as well. So overall, the project was really successful and demonstrated the effectiveness of it. And then the best thing, I guess, moving forward about this was that we were then able to then create what we call our virtual programs. And so after the pilot, we continued to offer our virtual excursions with the agencies, and we're also able to do one with just a Lifesaver itself. And so we're still doing that, but now we're actually, the opportunity for us is to look at our Sink or Swim, our practical program, and see how we can make this a virtual program that can be delivered in term 3 and term 4 if we aren't able to get into the classroom this year. So I guess that one of the things that I think really came from this, and I think that, facilities and schools could look at, is engaging their local community as well. It's simple using these platforms and bringing people together to support the curriculum in schools. So what I'll do is, we're about halfway through, so I will just stop it here, and just, if there are any questions in the chat function, Michelle or Jen, if you wanted to just let me know, and then I can answer them. So I'll wait a minute, and otherwise I will move on.
Hi Mel, Jen here. Thank you very much so far. We've got one. Mandy from Monash has said, we are aiming to offer our schools programs for at least term 3 virtual excursions. Are we allowed to utilise videos that LSV have created already, such as the CPR for kids at home?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say that you could, because they're publicly made available. And the CPR for kids, when we go into that later on, is actually not on the website just yet, but when it is, then I can't see any issues with that at all. And I think that's a great idea, because I think that, what I've found is that, so many similar agencies or like agencies often work in silo. And I think that there's real opportunity to come together and utilize some of the resources that, everyone has, so that we can make what we deliver to students, because at the end of the day, that's what I'm most passionate about, is not who did it, how it was done. It was did they get the message? Am I helping to save a life here? That's what's probably most important to me. So it's understanding that, and absolutely using those resources, I think, is just going to further enhance and engage and connect and provide the knowledge to kids to potentially save a life.
Excellent, thank you. And we've got one more. Tori, you might just need to elaborate a little bit. Would it be something that we are implementing or that is delivered to the schools for them to implement themselves?
Another good question. Yeah, I think there's still opportunity for schools to look at that on their own. But what I think the value of facilities and organisations is providing that expertise to the school. So it would be the resources that we have, being able to provide that to the facilities, the expertise that we have, so that the uniform that we have. There's nothing stopping a facility who dresses up as a lifeguard to deliver a session, because I think that just brings value to what you're doing, and the professionalism and the pride that you wear in those uniforms as well.
Excellent. And that's it for now.
Okay, great. So that's halfway through. I'm just going to do a quick time check to make sure that I have questions at the end, because I think that's really important. So the more questions you have, I will leave time because I'd love to hear them. And you'll also get my contact details at the end. So I'm happy for a one-on-one conversation as well if I don't answer it or you want more information too. So I will move on for now. So then we sort of went through the game, then we've got to our virtual excursions, which has actually helped and put us in a good position to create what we've called the Water Safety at Home series. And so you're all familiar with the Watch and Learn because you have seen those episodes before the actual session starting. But we do have a range of different programs within the Water Safety at Home series that I'll go through. I think for me, because this started when we were, in the circumstances that we're in, I think it provided opportunity for us. And I was really grateful for that, because I think that the last thing I wanted was to be at home not having something of value or importance in my role. And so I really feel that this has brought everyone in the team closer and together to create something which is still really valuable and, hopefully getting out to the community in regards to a range of different topics. So it started with a brainstorm, which was very interesting because we had lots of ideas that have been canned, I guess you can say. So we used something called Miro, which allowed us to put everything together in a brainstorming, online brainstorming sheet. And there were certainly ideas that were taken down from that. But what came from all of that was this opportunity to create a Water Safety at Home series. And the idea was to create this series not in isolation, but work together in terms of the consistency in the filming, which I'll go through a little bit later on. A lot of them have different platforms or a different purpose, which is really important, which I'll highlight. And one thing I will say is that this was very, very fast paced. So we know that it's, there's still lots of improvements, but we needed to get something out. So timing was more important. So just to give you an example, I think we came up with the idea and we pretty much had 2.5 weeks to get it all sorted, which is a very short period of time. And you may not have gone and done it that way if you had more time, but we sort of had to do what we had to do, I guess, in that sense. So hence you'll see some snapshots of the program that have just been put together more of a last minute rather than the first thing to do for you. The other challenge that we faced was with all of the filming and the people that we had coming in was, making sure we still maintained that social distancing and good hygiene, etc., and bringing the right people together as well. So what we do have on our website, and so you can access all of these resources. On here is a schedule of activities. So what we wanted to do was provide some sort of normality, I guess, in the home for families. And, you know, it wasn't, you know, they don't have to do every session. It was more, you know, if you're missing swimming at home, or you would like to know how to help somebody, that there were options throughout the week that they could be a part of to create some sort of normality. And I guess with all of this, what I'm really excited to announce is that we're on at the end of this week, all of the social media that's been put together for this, the tiles, the wording that you can use to share this with your own community, is actually going to be available on the website. So, you know, with like the question before, if you can use it, then absolutely, because we're going to have the tools on there for you to be able to make this relevant to your school or to your facility. And I guess another question that was raised when we spoke about, you know, schools have returned, so why are we still doing this? Swimming lessons still haven't returned, for example, and so it was still trying to create that normality for kids and families at home during this time. So I'll go through each of the activities that we had. We've got the quick watch and learn video here, which Caitlin creates every week. So we've put together a quick video. I'll just turn on the sound again for you. So that was the watch and learn, which you've seen, hopefully seen before. But again, all of those series are available on the website. And the idea is to create water safety or key water safety messages in a range of environments, which is targeted at that early childhood to primary age children. And so as part of all of this, you'll see as we move on these cartoon characters, which I'll talk a little bit about later on. But another opportunity that's come from this is, you know, different departments within our team working together to create something that's really, really great. And so I know with the lesson plans that are going to be uploaded later on, the Rainbow Serpent is one of those. It's just bringing all of that to life now because we have the technology, the skills and the capacity to do that. The next one is the nippers at home. So I didn't actually look after any of these projects. It was a CPR for kids that I did. So it will just be a quick overview on this. But just to give you a snapshot on what the nippers at home looks like, I will play the video for you. So what's really great about the nippers at home is that for our nippers involved in our life-saving clubs, there's another avenue for them to be engaged and connected. But also it's for those that have never done or ever wanted to give nippers a go. And so it's open to all children of any age. And again, it's on a weekly, every week on a Tuesday. The platform that was used for this was Facebook Live Premium and YouTube Live Premium, which meant that the videos could be pre-recorded and then uploaded so that then they are then made live. And then the questions that the participants have can be moderated by a person. So far we've had from the 2 sessions, 88 participants live with over 3,000 views. So in terms of engagement, it's been really effective. And there was an engagement from people from different life-saving clubs. So the people that were brought in weren't just from LSV, they were from a range of different clubs as well. And again, there's resources available for this. And I think that there's opportunities with this, like the Swimming at Home, to create what's called a watch party. And for those of you who haven't heard what a watch party is that it's a new feature so that groups, it allows admins to hold a live screening of a pre-recorded video that are publicly available on Facebook. So basically what that means is, as a facility or a school, you can actually use this resource and create your own or share it with your own community rather than having to use LSV as the platform to do that. The next one we have is Swimming at Home. So similar to Nippers at Home, it was about providing lessons for those children that were missing them because of COVID-19, and it's an opportunity to stay safe and active. So again, the presenters were selected not just from LSV but from different facilities. Again, it's the same platform as the other Nippers at Home, so Facebook Live Premium and YouTube Live Premium. And again, some great engagement as well. So we had over 3,000 views again with 88 participants in that as well. And I know my nephew's done these, and so the funniest thing is that I mean, it's probably similar to me and my mentality, I guess, but I'm very competitive, and so when we were doing the practicing bubbles, you actually had to use a straw or then use your mouth to blow a ball across the room or see who could get it the furthest. And to engage my 5-year-old nephew, who is barely sitting still when he's eating dinner, was just amazing to see. So it's kept him engaged and, loved the aspect of being active from home and still learning some really vital skills, even though you're not in the water. So I'll show that quick video for you now so that you can see what that looks like.
To be a top-class swimmer and swim like a fish, you've got to get in the pool. Get in the pool. Grab your talent, swimmers, get ready for some fun and go to swim school. Go to swim school. In the pool at any time. If you learn to swim, then you'll be fine. Come on and take a tip from me, be the best you can be. Go to swim school.
So I guess that was probably my favorite part of the video, was because we had Greg Page, actually the Yellow Wiggle, if you're not familiar with Greg Page, sing the song for that. And I guess I'll just turn off that sound so you're not hearing double of me, sorry. And I guess the best part for me, and I smile every single time I see that video, is just the smile on the kids' faces when they're doing it. So yeah, I'll move on. So the final one, which is CPR for kids, and then there's a second version of first aid for kids, is the one that I looked after. So I have a bit more information on this, but this idea came from Bahrain Royal Lifesaving, because they delivered this session over 3 sessions over a week, and they used Microsoft Teams and they had them register. So we actually observed that program and used some of what they had actually created for that. But the idea was that we wanted to create something that wasn't, it almost needed to be relevant. So I guess what was relevant at the time is that we're all at home at the moment with our families, and because we are at home more often, do we know how to help somebody if someone were to get into trouble? And I guess that kids play an important role in that, and we know that from some of our everyday lifesavers that we've come across, where we've had a 5-year-old calling 000 and saving their parent's life, or we've had students or kids rescuing members of the public and helping. So they can be critical. So the idea was to bring that into the home and get them to work with their families and learn how they can help someone in emergency. And I was really lucky, I guess, that I had an amazing presenter that was very enthusiastic and passionate about this topic. So I'll share this quick video with you so that you can sort of see or get an idea of what we did. And we certainly had some learnings from this as well, because it was a different platform that we used than other than Facebook and YouTube.
Hi everybody, I'm Sheila from Lifesaving Victoria, and I'm your instructor for CPR for kids at home. But all right, Doctor's ABCD. This is a checklist to help us remember what to do in an emergency. A pillow with my Bondi life-saving jumper on. There's somebody on the floor. The first thing I'm going to do is check for dangers. Looking after myself first. What about listening? Can you hear anything?
So we actually used, the kids could use their family members at home, or grab a teddy, or grab a ball, or grab anything that they could, or use to be able to learn sorry, CPR. I don't think I've spoken for this long for a long time. So something they could use for CPR. We learned very quickly that we needed a different I guess a better quality video than what I did at home, for example, because having a PowerPoint in the background is actually really difficult to see in a video, and it can change, what it looks like. So we've learnt a lot with that as well. But we used a platform deliberately with Microsoft Teams. It's actually a new event function rather than a Microsoft Teams invite. And the reason why we did that was because videos and microphones were already muted, so we didn't have to worry about that. So there was, no concerns in terms of people jumping on or kids being exposed to anything, because they just joined the session, and me as the producer was just sharing what we had. And so that platform really worked, but the session was deliberately delivered live, so it wasn't pre-recorded, so that then the questions could come through in the Q&A chat, and I was able to answer them and then refer those back to Sheila. So Sheila is the trainer in the picture, and so I was able to say, great, we have a question from Tiffany, and Tiffany is asked, and so it just provided that more engagement with the participants that have actually joined. So it was deliberately different, and we will have a video of that made available as well, so that if you couldn't join it live, then you are able to access that, and for schools as well. So I spoke about that. So again, there's a lot of resources available. I'm not going to go too much into this because you'll be able to see that in the links that are shared in the chat function. But one of the things that did come from this is that it does link to our accredited training at home. So what we deliver an LSV in terms of a nationally recognised accredited training course. And so we could, incorporate that into what we did. We haven't had a lot of traction on social media yet, but that's what we're trying to encourage and engage. And hopefully now with, what we provide to the community and facilities and schools on our website to push this out to their own networks and family and friends and their own community, that will increase. And then we do still have, obviously the sessions are still going on. So just to give you an idea of the planning or some of the things that we still need to have ready by Monday, is the cartoon characters that we get created, they still need to be filled in. So you can sort of see that that's the process of getting that up and going. We still need to confirm the content and the PowerPoint, all of the media and marketing, the resources that we have. We create prompting questions to help, pre-written statements as well. So there's a bit of work involved, but at the end of the day, it's so worth it when you have that opportunity to connect and engage with the community and potentially give them life-saving skills. So finally, the resource page, which I've spoken about, is there and available for you to access. So you can see the links to all of the programs we've spoken about in the Water Safety at Home series. So I guess the last thing is to hand back over to you and ask Jen, Michelle, if there's any questions that anybody has.
Mel, there's no questions at this moment, but someone did say that the CPR part was fantastic. Their preppy did it with them on the Monday and was really surprised at what he'd already knew, but also pointed out things that he didn't quite know.
Oh, that's really great to hear. I'm so glad to hear that. It's always nice because sometimes you just don't hear those things at all. So, yeah, I did have my, I think my screen stopped sharing. Yep, but yes. That's okay. You can always email this email address anyway, because as a team that can be forwarded on to me. So if you do have any questions or you would like any more information or just have a chat, if you would like further support, if you're already doing really great things and you want to share with us what you're doing and maybe help us, then I'm more than happy to have those conversations, because I think that the more that we work together in this space, especially during these times, the better it is for everybody.
I'll pop the education email into the chat, Mel.
Okay, great. Yep. That would be great. But otherwise, that's the end of the session, and I hope you're able to get something from it, and some of our learnings that we have, and then also the opportunities as well, because now we have this content available that we can use moving forward, which is really great. So like I said, any questions, but thanks for having me.
Thanks, Mel. I appreciate your time today. Now I've just started sharing my screen, so you can mute mic and turn off your camera. So as we said, if you've got any other questions, please email us at schoolswimming@lsv.com.au. All the links to all the resources that Mel shared in the presentation is in the chat. And just a reminder, I have had one Keen Bean already complete our survey, so that link, Jen, if you can post the link in the chat again, we would love to hear what you are looking for from future sessions. So if you can complete that survey, we would really appreciate that. Otherwise, thanks for having us today, and don't forget to hang up using the red hang up button. Thanks, everybody.